Hey, I'm PianoBruce, and in this video I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to sight read faster as part of my tutorials that I teach every week, so be sure to subscribe so that you can see those. I also teach piano lessons online and in person, so feel free to get in touch if you're interested in that. Sight reading can be difficult. There's not just one trick so that you can get it overnight. You have to keep practicing and develop it over time. Even for me now, I've been playing for 20 years and I'm still improving. I can say from my own experience that every musician needs to learn how to read music, because it doesn't matter, even if you know the songs inside out, you still might need a guide to remind you what to play. Knowing the notes is important when reading music, but it can be a little confusing trying to remember which one is which when you just want to play the song. So to help with reading the specific notes, you can use landmarks. So the first one we're going to use is middle C, right in the middle of both staves. And the second line on the treble clef is G, and then the third space is C, and the top line is F. Just by knowing this, you can work out the other notes that you need to press by their position in relation to these points. And as you go down the bass clef from middle C, you have second line F, third space C, and bottom line G, also known as ground G, which is at the bottom. And feel free to use the landmarks that you're most comfortable with. I use middle C, bottom line E, middle line B, and top space E. And for the bass, I do middle C, top line A, middle line D, and bottom space A. Now that we've covered the notes, let's do some reading. So the first thing you want to do before you sight read is to plan your journey. And to do this, we're going to write on our sheet music. So let's start scanning through this piece and noticing some key points. First, what key signature is it in? This will tell you how many sharps or flats you have to play in the piece. This one has no sharps, so I know that it's in C major. But let's check through the piece because there might be some accidentals. These are just extra sharps, flats and naturals that happen in the piece. It's useful to mark these because it can easily be missed when you're playing, so just highlight them when you see them. Our second point is to look at the time signature. Get a good feel for the timing, as this will help you keep a steady count. This one is in common time, which is 4/4. So I just have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Our third point is to look at the markings that tell us how to express the notes. This is kind of like punctuation when you're reading a book. Specifically in music, we're looking for dynamics and things like legato and staccato. I can see F for forte here and no other dynamics, so this whole piece is going to be quite loud. There's also a lot of legato here, so I just want to make a mental note about these bits, as it's easy to see these big massive lines. Legato is like musical sentences. I can see that this flows together, and then this one flows together too. Our fourth point is to look for some rhythmic changes and patterns with the notes. I have some quavers here and here. Then on the left hand, these places have a rest, then they play on counts 2 and 3. Then there's a little section with 5 notes in a row from G to C, one after the other. Just practice the rhythm a little bit by pretending to press these notes and familiarise yourself with it. The left hand has a C here, but then I can see that the higher note is 2 spaces away, so it's the 5th interval of C. Or the 5th note if we count this one as the first. Learning intervals can help you massively because it can help you sort of guesstimate the chords and melodies, like this one, where if I use C, I can start with the 3rd, which is an E, then I move up to the 5th, which is G, and then I go back to the 1st, which is C, and then I move up 1 to the 2nd, which is D. And you can see sections that repeat, like this one, which will certainly help you read it much faster because you feel like you know it already. And our fifth point is fingering. Looking at this piece all the way through, I can see that it only spans 5 notes with either hand. So I can cover each note with a finger and keep them there. But not all pieces are this simple, so you might have to plan the journey of your fingers in other songs and mark them up. Like this bit from Menuet in G, where I have to move my hand into different positions, so I would mark this here and this here, so I have the easiest mode of travel. A little bonus tip, When you start playing, you will have moments where you can read ahead. Maybe you're playing a familiar phrase, or you may be holding down some notes. Use this time to read ahead as much as possible, as you always want to be a step ahead. Be careful not to read too far ahead though, because you might lose track. Again, this comes with practice. And those are my tips on how to sight read faster. And depending on the song that you're playing, you'll find that it'll only take a few minutes at the beginning to get yourself prepared. Like with anything, the more you practice, the easier it gets. And like reading a book, you'll find that you do it without even thinking. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe, as every week there'll be a new piano lesson. And let me know in the comments below what your favourite tip was and if there's any other tips that work well for you. See ya!